this video, I'm going to try to show my husband and my wedding day, June 6th, 2017. It was a very magical day. Our deceased mothers and his grandmother made their appearance. And it was one of those things that our son was 6 and we weren't married yet. And he says, "Don't you think it's time you get married?" So we decided to make the date the anniversary of our meeting and did some rush preparations. We wound up flying in my dad from Indiana to give me away since he hadn't done that yet, even though it was my 3rd marriage. And my best girlfriend from Indiana flew herself down, and we flew in my friend from Arizona, who's been present at all of my weddings. So even though this was my 3rd go, and part of why I waited 7 years to get married again, it was his first wedding at the age of 49. Classic Sagittarius, don't commit. But so it was a day that there was a hummingbird that was hovering over the wedding proceedings. Dragonflies everywhere. There were photos later, one particular that had a bunch of orbs and even a face that was his maternal grandmother. We could make out her face in the photo. So very curious at the time. When you spiral back, you see new things. We got married in his parents' backyard. So I list the street, town, and house number here. In this video, I'll only be showing my natal chart, my husband's natal chart, and a multi-composite for myself, my husband, and our son that we share together. So in my natal chart, my husband's name is conjunct union here at my midheaven. We have my mother's name, Patricia, here. His maternal grandmother was Betty. They all sit here in 9th house. And there are many connections around Pluto at 1855. Patricia Ann, by transit, was connecting up to that. His mom, I associate her more with the dragonflies and my mother more with the hummingbirds, just based on events since her death. Betty over here connects up with all of that. Where it comes to our last name, over here at 27 degrees Sagittarius, which is near the galactic center. That particular degree Sabian symbol is the master builder. My husband is a master framer, and he works with blueprints, and I like to joke that he works with house blueprints and I work with people blueprints. So connected to our last name, we had South Node and Union here are conjunct. Union is, of course, getting together. Uranus was at 27 degrees. Destiny was at 2603. North Node, of course, opposite the South Node. This one here is Bride. B-R-I-E-D-E is used as bride. At 25 degrees, near our last name, we had Patricia and Saturn conjunct here. So that also connects in with everything. I did pull the charts for June 6th, but it was the evening of that day that we got married. I'd scheduled it for 5:55, but yeah, I was late. So anyway, normally when it's an evening chart, I will actually pull it to the next day based on the software and what I see. So the exact degrees for especially faster moving planets would be a little bit more advanced forward. His mother's maternal name by transit and transit Gagnero were opposite Pluto. They were connecting to the name of the town here by transit, and that also connects to my midheaven and to my IC at 20 degrees. You think I know my chart best, I'd be able to find things quickly. In my natal chart, my husband's mom's name connects to the name of their town where I met them. And there are two asteroids that I use. My son was named after my father-in-law, and one ends in Sue, which we gave him the honor of naming our son. And after a month or two, he only came up with the name Sue for him. So when I found the asteroids uh, for that name ending in Sue and for my husband's name ending in Sue, that just made sense to me to use those. So there's another one that ends in NIA that does seem to apply more to my son here. It's also the old address for my father's home where I grew up when I was a little girl. If we go back to the Uranus at 27 degrees, and we have, of course, Venus right here near it, that does connect Venus opposite my karma, Patricia Ann. Uh, our house, or no, our street name, it does connect to the house address where we got married here. Um, it connects to my Atlantis, to my husband's nickname, and of course to my Mars Miller, 0 degrees here. Mercury moves quickly, so it was already on Mars and Miller. That's my dad's last name, my maiden name. Let's see, so Pat Miller, my mom's name when she was married to my dad, connects to my descendant axis where Betty was sitting right near his maternal grandmother, and of course connects to my ascendant. Groom here at 1226, that connects up here to Eris and Chiron, and it sits right here at some of my astrology asteroids. The house address connects to my part of fortune. I did not realize I'd never put his maternal grandmother in before, and she sits right here and connects to my Patricia and my midheaven. Um, I had only met her a few times. She passed away not long after I got pregnant with our son. My mother's last name here, Lucky, sits near my Juno, opposite all my Mercury Chiron. And of course, Jupiter had crossed over that area. By transit, her last name here, Lucky, is opposite Miller, Mars, Angel, Mercury. Here on Groom at 10 degrees in my chart, we have Miller had crossed over. My dad had already flown in. My husband's nickname, Neptune. Ginky was here on had crossed over my Vesta and was connecting to my ascendant and descendant axis. The other 15 degrees that the house address connects to is opposite my destiny. Have an opposite transit or street. This is the great attractor here. I have Sisyphus and Amor also sit here in their destiny. Sisyphus, of course, doing the same thing over and over. Unitas here is a union, a bonding, and it does connect at 29 degrees to transit Venus here. Oh, and here I go again, dancing around. We have Pax. Also, transit Pax was at 15 degrees sextile to the house address, to my part of fortune. Our last name here by transit is opposite my Babylon astrology, Delphi, some other things that I have there at 6 degrees. Transit Gianna had crossed over Phallus, the beginning of something. Our sun's nickname ties into the 27 degrees all around the chart. My husband by transit, his name is trying to my midheaven. I could not find an asteroid for hummingbird forever by archetype description or anything, and just as with his last name, it just came to me. Not his last name, his nickname. It just came to me. We'll try the nickname. So the nickname for a hummingbird is Hummy. So Hummy here at 13 degrees is sextile to my Eris, Mercury, Chiron, and trine to my astrology asteroids, and also trine to Juno and Lucky. My natal Hummy here is quincunx to our last name. And of course, it's here with my natal bride. Connects to the transit Patricia here. And then allowing the 2 degree orb, all of the 27s, Union, South Node, North Node, Destiny, Uranus. So yeah, Spirit is very prominent. Karma at 8:39 is quincunx my Vesta and Sun, as well as my Jupiter. Quaor, cosmic creativity at 01, connects over here to my Mars. Miller is opposite the house address and Mars that are conjunct here at the name of the town in my natal and my father-in-law and son. Unitas connects to my 12th house Venus, to Gianna, to my husband's mom. It looks like I forgot to put his grandmother's last name in this one. I know she's in some of the other ones that I did. So yeah, when I'm putting these together, I get so excited plugging them in. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to remember to say this. Yeah, looking at it and trying to get it all together, even with notes, just doesn't do it. But as you go around the chart and you see what numbers all match up by transit and in the natal chart, you can start making connections to Patricia and Betty, my husband's mom's name, the town, the street, the house address that we got married at, and of course, all of the magic that was involved there. Okay, so this is my husband's natal chart. And as you can see here, just on his ascendant, we have PACs, which is soul contracts agreements. Um, at his vertex is groom, and also my mother's name, Patricia Ann, where Saturn and Patricia were retrograde at. We looked at the photos sometime in the week after the wedding, and that's when we found the picture with the orbs and the face on it. We knew about the hummingbird, of course. I have a photo of it, but so yeah, it just really came together in the next week. Transit Gianna was on his union, which is conjunct my dad. Uh, this groom and vertex, Patricia Ann, Saturn, and Patricia all connect here to his 8th house Chiron. Uh, Venus and Uranus here on his north node. Opposite his south node, the NIA asteroid name for our son and father-in-law. Quaoar, cosmic creativity, the street that we got married on. Bride, I'm not sure how fast it moves, but it was sitting here by transit at this same area. Transit Hummy was square to my husband's name here, which does sit near his Atlantis. Interesting that our street where we met and have lived in 2 different houses is conjunct his IC. So back to Hummy. Hummy connects over here to his natal bride. Pluto connects to his Venus. I did forget to mention that Willis was my married name at the time that I changed to our last name. Unitas here by transit connects to his Pluto, his karma, which interestingly has wood conjunct it. That is what he does as a master framer. Works with wood. Betty, his maternal grandmother here, connects to his north node and to his south node. He liked to say that he was her favorite, and could very well be. The woman put a lot of time and effort into him, and he loved her dearly. His Betty is opposite also. His Patricia Ann, my mother, connects to his Uranus, to his nickname here. Transit Genki here is opposite Anubis and Pax, an angel, that are all conjunct in his natal chart. As you can see here, his destiny is conjunct my Gagnero, and it was opposite Mercury in the 10th house, life direction. Groom was connecting to his name here, to Vesta. His parents' house and town are here in his first house, 0 and 142. Now, of course, the 142 and 0 match up in my chart with his father's name, his mother's name, his sister's married name that I have all in various degrees at 0 and 1 degrees. Transit bride was on his south node, opposite his north node, where Uranus was sitting with Venus. That Venus connects back to the 29-degree areas I was just looking at. Mm, Gianna, his natal Gianna connects to Atlantis. Our last name here is another one of those 1 degrees. Okay, so let's see. I think I already said that Venus was opposite the street name where we got married. Quaor and Phallus here connect to the destiny, to the street name, to his Uranus, which is also uh, your higher self, your connection to your higher self. Our composite chart, we do have an 8th house cusp sun. Betty and Gagnero here were connecting to his Venus and to his Mercury. Betty's last name, which I had forgotten to put into mine, connects to his Ginky. And of course, to my dad and to Union, to his Saturn. Now, my husband's nickname by transit was with Neptune and Miller. The town was connecting to his Karma and Venus, midpoint, and opposite his Pluto. The Sioux asteroid for our son and father-in-law, an angel, were connecting to his Jupiter. The house name and Mars were connecting to Gagnero and his destiny, and to the house in town. No surprise, my husband has Skepticus conjunct Psyche. And when I first started getting heavy on this path in 2016, uh, he's pretty sure I was going crazy. Starting meditating and doing all of those things. So his Eris, discord for positive change, is square to Gianna and forms a T-square with Vesta here. Union, south node, north node, all connect to his south node and north node. My mother's last name, Lucky, connects to his Jupiter, Saturn, Union, and my dad's name to his sun at 5 degrees here. Our last name had crossed over his sun. It was at the sun and Ginky midpoint. Betty's last name was connecting to transit Pat Miller and all around all of the 9-10 degrees, his midheaven, and I see spirit, his natal spirit. Transit spirit was also connecting to his midheaven and to his IC. Willis, my last name at the time, in his natal chart is conjunct, or not conjunct, sextile to his Juno, and also his Chiron by aspect to his groom and vertex. So yeah, the longer you look, the more you see. And you just, when you're supposed to meet somebody, you're supposed to meet somebody, even if you don't know how it's going to turn out. So next I'll do our multi-composite for my husband, my son, and I. Now, when I was pregnant with our son, his maternal grandmother had already passed. And of course, my mother was long passed on. And I would wake up in the middle of the night with my hair being stroked, my leg being stroked, all while I was pregnant with him. And I just felt his grandmother and my mother, their presence. My son did talk with, I know for sure, my mother from the things he would say when he was younger. He does have Spectre conjunct his Venus. I threw Spectre in the various charts along with Spirit and Angel, Flower. But his Venus and Spectre do connect to my mother. I haven't thoroughly investigated for his grandmother and great grandmother, but so yeah, he does have an eighth house Venus conjunct Spectre. That we'll see where that goes, if anywhere. So this is a multi-composite for 3 people, chart of the relationship, and our ascendant, of course, is in Cancer, uh, family, and also it's related to our intuitive self, our emotional selves. Transit, our son's nickname, had just crossed over the descendant axis, and it connects there to the composite Chiron, Mercury, my dad, where destiny was on my dad, and Uranus. Let's see, we're doing a transit son's nickname. So it connects to the 12th house Saturn, to the composite son's nickname, to the town that we were married at. The composite street name and Anubis are opposite union at the 5-6 degree mark. Trying to remember what all was at that degree. There was nothing particular at that degree, but that doesn't mean there wasn't something there. I only threw in a handful of applicable asteroids. The more I add in, the more connections can be made. So here, my husband's nickname, Vesta, are conjunct. Patricia is here, and they're all in the 8th house. Connects to our last name, to Unitas, coming together, to Betty's last name, to Patricia, that's Patricia Ann, to Spirit, Flower, to Miller, to Willis, to Lucky, my mother's last name. And then we have, we had Venus at 29 degrees, almost to 0, and that does connect to the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction. Groom is also at 29 degrees. It connects to our Pluto. Venus was exactly opposite our Pluto. It connects to the NIA sun's name. Connects to bride. Mercury was on the bride. The sun was sextile to the midheaven in IC at 15 degrees. The sun was opposite our karma specter. It was connecting to our Juno soul contracts. Uh, Karma and Anubis. Now, Anubis can be linked with death, but he was the ferryman that went between the underworld and this world. Uh, so Karma and Anubis at 8 degrees connects to Angel, Hummy, Union, Gagnero, Vertex, Destiny, Atlantis, and the composite Juno. Uh, it was at Pat Miller, the Sioux version of the Sun Father-in-Law asteroid. And let's see. Connected over here to the NIA Sun asteroid, Father-in-Law NIA, and to Spectre that were conjunct. The 29-degree Venus, 29, 28, 29-degree Mercury was opposite transit Lucky, of course. Transit Spirit was here at the composite Angel. Transit Willis was square to the midheaven in IC. I changed my name that day to my current last name. Transit Betty in Gagnero here, 1851 and 1817. Connect to Vesta, my husband's nickname, the North Node. So automatically the South Node, my mother's last name Lucky. To the Moon. We do have a fourth house moon. That's home, family, Libra. Mediating. The wedding ring that I chose actually is not standard. I had my husband's birthstone, my birthstone, in heart shapes, and we are surrounded by my son's diamond birthstones, just to symbolize the connection that he holds us together. So yeah, the more you look around, the more you can see the various connections by degree, by transit, and by the multi-composite placements. So it's just a little look into how I look at charts. I said there are so many more that I could put in that are relevant, but then it gets really messy, and boy, does my brain get confused trying to chart it all. So the point I do this, I do not predict. I look at past events and current events, but I do not try to predict. The reason that I do it this way is a healing. Uh, so many of us have regrets for the things that we have done. We have, we question ourselves: is this what we should have done? Is it? The charts help to show that it's what you did, and it's all right on time. Whether we're operating self-consciously, I mean subconsciously, excuse me, uh, and we are just following a script, or there are over 22,000 named asteroids along with all these planets and fixed stars. Uh, Maybe we just went left when we could have gone right. And had we done so, then maybe I could chart that out with the asteroids that apply to what happened. So, it's still a question of fate or free will as to whether we are doing what we came here to do. It's just something that I've found extremely interesting to see, and it has soothed me in so many different ways and looking at different events that, yeah, this is what happened, and here are the different things that support showing that it was part of the plan. So anyway, I know that's a big question in people's minds, even manifesting. Are we manifesting or do we subconsciously know what's ahead? That is something that I question as well. And of course, all of that's quite controversial, but what do you do? This is here right in black, white, and green. So, all right, well, that's the end of that one. Have a nice day. Thank you for watching.